Welcome to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Zeal, and if you're looking for the high-level strategies and stories behind building a seven-figure product brand, then you're in the right place. On this show, we'll uncover the advanced strategies, stories, and secrets that you need to know in order to take your e-commerce brand to the next level. Are you ready to uncover your roadmap to 1 million? Let's dive in. Welcome to Roadmap to 1 Million. OMG, y'all, this is the last episode of 2022. I am so excited for this episode because we are going to be talking all about just 12 lessons that I've learned over the year. And I wanted to share them with y'all. They're business lessons, marketing lessons, anything that kind of just will help you to kind of get your thoughts together for next year or really think about how your year has gone. And so I'm going to keep this light and fun. So I really don't have a whole script like I usually do or a whole more detailed outline like I usually do. I just wrote down these 12 lessons and I'm going to talk to you just about them and just, leave these nuggets with you. You take what you can, leave what you don't need, and make sure that we have a prosperous and abundant year in 2023. And so before I jump into those lessons, I also wanted to let you know how you can work with me in 2023. And so in preparing these lessons, in thinking about our annual plan and what we're going to be doing, I really took some time to look at the offers that we had this year and the ways that we have impacted different businesses and different CEOs and different teams, and really dialed it into the two most impactful ways that we are going to be serving people in 2023. And so all of the other offers I have other than these two are going to be off the table for 2023. And so I'm going to tell you these two ways, and then we're going to dig into the 12 lessons. How I come to this, how I really kind of got to this is that I always ask myself this question when there's a period of transition in my life. I always ask myself, what do I want my life to look like? And that's a moment for me to really kind of just stop and look at how my life is currently going and look at the things that I have been working on that are getting me towards the life that I desire, and deciding are these actions that I'm taking actually getting me to the goal that I want to get to? Or am I really just, am I doing things that creating a life that I don't want? And so in 2023, I want to impact more people. I want to impact people in a more hands-on yet scalable way, so that I can have more time for travel and I can still have the impact that I want to have, but I plan on doing a lot of traveling in 2023, y'all, and I am super excited about that. So I have decided to focus on just two main ways to serve y'all this year in 2023. And so the first way is with my new training program, AMPLIFY, which is a Facebook and Instagram ads training program. And so this program is 8 weeks of live training where I will walk you or someone on your team through creating your ad strategy, to building your campaigns and your creative, and to even building your campaigns and optimizing them for growth. And so if you have decided that you want to generate sales on autopilot next year, and you want to spend less of your time on marketing by focusing on investing in Facebook ads, you definitely need to be in this program. And so you can learn more about AMPLIFY by watching my free workshop, How to 2X Your Sales with Ads in 2023. So go to stacyzeal.co/workshop, and there will be a link below. And so applications are open now for AMPLIFY. Actually, we're getting started in January. And so this first cohort is going to launch in January. Applications are open now. And if you apply by December 31st, you do get a bonus one-on-one session with me. And so you have to the end of this year to apply, to put your application in for AMPLIFY. So that way, when you get approved, you'll also get a free one-on-one strategy session with me. So super excited about that. So all things Facebook and Instagram ads, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to be successful. Okay, and the only other way you're going to be working with me next year is through my fractional chief marketing officer services. And this is retainer services. And so I want you to really think back to this year. And on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being not at all, how burned out are you from your marketing? And so if you realized that you spent too much time in the weeds of your marketing this year, you spent too much time trying to help your team to be able to, get marketing projects out and to be able to bring campaigns to life, and things are falling through the cracks, but yeah, you're making money and you're doing your thing, but you know that you can be doing more. You know that you could be hitting a different revenue ceiling, that you hit a revenue ceiling essentially, or you're not scaling, or you, despite doing a lot of marketing, you're really kind of just staying stuck. That is who this is for. And so if you have decided that you want help putting in the right strategies, systems, and having the right support and guidance for your team in place so that you can spend less of your time on marketing and more time on serving clients or resting or traveling or whatever it is you want to do next year, you definitely want to book a call with me so we can talk about how a fractional chief marketing officer can set you up to get the results that you want. So learn more by checking out my site. Go to stacyzeal.co. You can head over to my work with me page. We'll also link it below in the show notes. But those are the only two ways that we're going to be serving clients next year. You know, will things pop up? Maybe, sure. But and will we, if we have to pivot, if we have to do, we will be nimble and we will pivot and all those things. But this is the focus for this year. I've created my plan based on these two offers, and I'm super excited to really be able to blow them out and to scale it. And so my fractional chief marketing officer offer is very much a very exclusive offer. It's not available for everybody. There is definitely a process that we go through and making sure that it's a good fit for both of us. And that offer is also has limited spots, very, very limited spots. Amplify has more space. That is also going to be limited spots. It's going to be cohort based. There's going to be, a max amount of people who are in it, because again, as I mentioned, I want to be able to be very hands-on and impactful in a scalable way. And so I don't want to have thousands of clients to be able to make an impact right in 2023, right? Because I'm thinking about this year. What do I want to accomplish this year? And so that's what we're going to accomplish this year. So make sure you book a call with me or send a Voxer to talk about it, and we can figure out which offer works best for you and all of those good things. All right, so let's get into these 12 lessons. I am super excited for these lessons. I've never done a lessons recap kind of podcast before, and so I think this is going to be super fun. And this is in no particular order, okay? So this is not in order of importance. This is just in order of when it came out of my brain and onto this iPad. All right, so lesson number one. Lesson number one is, if you don't talk about your business every day, no one else will. And this came to me first because I have a lot of people that always are like, you show up so much and you're always talking about your business. You're always showing up like, oh my goodness, that's so amazing. And I'm like, thank you. I appreciate that. And also, if I don't talk about my business every day, nobody else is going to talk about my business every day. If I don't let my referral partners know what I have going on, if I don't let my leads know what I have going on, if I'm not warming people up, if I'm not telling people about the things that I'm doing and trying to get people to fill my workshops, and if I'm not talking about my business every day, there is no way that I can get other people to also talk about it to people that they know that may want to join my programs, people that they know that may be referral sources, or anybody, right? So you have to talk about your business every day. Don't be afraid to post about your business every day. Don't be afraid to go live and talk about your business. Like, if you are following me on Facebook, I built up my Facebook page with a lot of people who were friends initially, and then eventually it shifted over to business, and now I have more people on my timeline who are on there for business than for personal. And it's because that is a channel that I use to promote my business, and because if I don't talk about it every day, then nobody else will. And even when you think about ads, right? Ads are a way for you to talk about your business every day. So it's not necessarily that you're like, oh, I have to physically be talking to somebody every day about your business, but if you're running ads, if you're doing those kinds of things, you're doing sustainable marketing, like you're investing in things like SEO or blogs or, just YouTube videos, those kinds of podcasts, these kinds of things last long term. And so people can hear about your business every day. But if you don't talk about it, if you don't show up, if I don't drive people to this podcast, right? I tell so many people to listen to my podcast. I tell so many people to come and check out my podcast. I promote it a lot. Right? And so if I don't talk about it every day, then my business is not going to grow. And the same is for you. If you don't talk about your business every day, it's not going to grow. Hey, are you doing all the things when you'd rather be CEOing? What if instead of doing all the things like figuring out the marketing strategy and leading the team, you could free up your time to focus on other areas of your business that really need your attention? That's possible when you work with my team at Stacy, Zeal & Co. We are strategic marketing partners for e-commerce brands that want to take their sales and impact to the next level. Ready to stop playing small and do what it takes to become a big ass impactful brand? Head over to roadmap1million.com to book a call with me. Don't wait. Now. Right now is your time. Head over to roadmap1million.com to book a call with me. I look forward to helping you get to your next level. All right, lesson number 2 is that it is perfectly okay to pivot until you get into alignment. And so if you know me personally, if you have, interacted with me in other spaces, I am very much woo. I am all about the woo. I'm all about energy. I'm all about abundance. I'm all about manifestation. I'm all about that stuff. And so this year for me has been a lot of pivoting in order to get into alignment. And so when I originally left my corporate job at Zappos in April of this year, I started with, having this traditional Facebook ad agency. And I realized that was not in alignment with where I wanted to be. It wasn't in alignment with the impact that I wanted to have. I wanted to be able to educate in-house teams on how to do this, how to be able to do marketing better. I want to help CEOs. I want to help Black-owned businesses. I want to help these kinds of people and these kinds of brands become the next big fucking thing. That's what I want to work. That's what I want to help, right? I want you to become humongous. I want you to be as big as you want to be. And so I had to understand that in order for me to help you, I have to be in alignment with what I'm doing. I have to be in alignment so that way I show up every day. So that way so that way I'm reaching out every day. So that way I'm talking about my business every day. Because if I'm doing something that I'm not in alignment with, then I'm not going to want to talk about it every day. I'm not going to want to focus on it. I'm not going to want to grow it. So think about, and it's for me, honestly, it's been a few pivots this year, right? It wasn't like I just went from one thing and the next thing was like, oop, there we go. It's been a series of pivots. And you, as the CEO, have to understand that when it's time to take a pivot, when it's time to ride and see where things go. So I challenge you to think about things in your business that are out of alignment. Think about things in your life that are out of alignment and figure out how do I get more into alignment so that I can show up as my best self and I can show up and do the things that I want to do and accomplish the things that I want to do, and also while having the impact that I want to have. Lesson number 3. So SOPs, which stands for Standard Operating Procedures, make delegating so much easier and smoother. Oh my goodness, y'all. This one, having a document that says how we do things is been a game changer in my business. And I'll give you an example. My podcast, the SOP that I made this year that has been the most impactful is probably the podcast. And it was something that we made probably in November of this year, or even, November is when we kind of really started creating this SOP. But essentially this document has marching orders from conceptual, from planning content, from planning what the actual podcast content is going to be, to recording, to what do I do after it's recorded, to when my assistant picks up and she edits, what's her process for editing, what's the process for marketing. And so that document has made it so much easier to know, okay, step 1, 2, and 3 are on me. Once I get step 1, 2, and 3 done, then I hand that over to my assistant. My assistant takes care of steps 4, 5, 6, right? And then once we get to 4, 5, once we get through 4, 5, 6, then I pick up and do step 7 or whatever it is, right? Having a document and I just use a Google Doc, to be honest. I just use a Google Doc. And it's a list of everything that has to be done. And it's a living, breathing document. And so now that we're starting to do guest podcast episodes, right, we're adding to it. Because I'm okay, now that we have, when we do a guest episode, we have more things that we need to do. Or we have different things that we need to do, right? And so figure out where in your business, if you have to do something over and over again, if you had to do something 2, 3 times, you definitely want to make sure that you document that process. And then I use Loom also. So I will just record myself doing something and say, this is how I want it done. And those things are even linked into the SOP. How to, send out the email for the podcast. There's a Loom video for that. And it's linked into the SOP where at the step that says send out an email. Right. And so my focus for Q1, honestly, is creating more systems, more SOPs, and more ways that we can actually, rely on automation and systems and processes to actually make our workflow a lot smoother so that I can have more time to show up for my clients, to travel the world, to do all the things that I want to do. Right. And so think about in your business, what are some things that you can automate or things that you can make templates? Like I have so many templates in my business, right? And so it's like, even my show notes have a template. It's like, how do you write the show notes, right? There's a template for that. When I send out, pitches for myself, there's a template for that, okay? So anything that you can do to templatize your business is going to definitely help you when you, for one, it helps me and, know like, okay, I did 1, 2, and 3, so now I'm done, right? But it also helps when you have a team and you have people that are going to be on your team, or even if you're going to hire someone to help you out on your team, start doing those things now. Okay, next lesson, I think we're on number 4. I probably should have numbered these, but I did not. So I might get lost in the numbers, but there are 12 here, I know for sure, because I counted last night. So the number 4, I think, surround yourself with people who are doing better than you. And I find people who are doing better than me motivational. I am not a jealous person. I've never been a jealous person. So if that's something that you need to work on, then maybe, then you definitely need to work through that, because when you surround yourself with people who are doing better than you, it opens your mind as to what's possible. Like being in a room with millionaires, which is I've been in a couple spaces this year where I'm surrounded by people who are making, 500, 700 millions, multi-millions. Right? Like I've been in rooms where people are making lots of money. And for me, I find it motivational. And I'm talking about business. I'm not even talking about at Zappos seeing all of this money flowing in and out every day, because that is a whole nother mind fuck as well. Is that you see how much money is flowing through one business a day and you're like, there's hella money out here. Right? But anyway, being in a room as a CEO trying to grow her business, being around people who are doing a lot better than me, even people who are doing just a little bit better than me, I find that so motivational. And I see like, oh, well, if she did it, it's possible for me too. Right? And so think about ways that you can put yourself around people who are doing better than you. If you find that you're surrounding yourself with people who are not doing as well as you, or you're having to be the person you're the person who's doing the best, right? You're the smartest person in the room and you're having to help other people around you. And it's important to do that, right? I do a lot of free content. I do a lot of, giving people advice, giving people gems, all that kind of stuff I do all that stuff. But I mean, like, in the communities that you're hanging out with, the people who you're asking for advice to, the people who you're going to coffee chats with, the events that you're going to, you need to make sure you're getting yourself into a room and start to build relationships with people who are doing a lot better than you, so that it can open your mind as to what's possible for you. Like, I have never had, made $1 million in one day in my business. That is something that I will do eventually, right? I have never done that. But the fact that I know people who have done it, know Black women who have made $1 million in a day, who have, made hundreds of thousands of dollars in a day, to me, I'm like, oh shit, if they could do it, I could definitely do it, right? I just need to work, keep working on what I'm working on now, and it'll eventually happen and work towards that. But seeing things that are possible for you, that you have not attained yet, it's definitely motivational, and it helps you to keep going forward. All right, so lesson number 5. This is a marketing lesson. Everything in marketing works, y'all. That's the lesson. Everything in marketing works. The thing that you have to figure out, though, is figure out what works for you and your business and do more of that. Right? So the lesson really here is that you don't have to do all the things, because everything in marketing works. Funnels work. Storytelling works. Webinars work. Ads work. Organic social works. Having an all organic business, email marketing, all of that stuff works. Right? And so it's not a TikTok. It works for, and I know if you listen to my podcast, I get on TikTok, but TikTok works for some people, for certain brands. Right? And so the lesson here, and the lesson that you take into 2023, and the lesson I know for sure I am taking into 2023, is that I just need to figure out what works for me and my business and do more of that. I'm just focused. I'm really cutting back a lot of the things, a lot of the marketing that I was trying to do this year, because it's like, if you start to really like put a lot of effort into a channel and then you just kind of let it die to go shift to another channel, then it's like all that work you put in just kind of died. Right? And so think about in your business, like really figuring out like what actually moved the needle and what didn't. And so that's what I've put into my 2023 plan. It's a lot of like, and if you've watched my live series, I just did a live about annual planning. And in the first video, one of the first things I tell you to do is to make a list, a brain dump of what worked and what didn't work this year. That's marketing wise, it's business wise, it's energy wise, it's money wise, all of the things, what worked and what didn't work. And if you look at your marketing section, you're just like, LinkedIn. I was on LinkedIn. I did a lot on LinkedIn. I got some leads from there, but it didn't really result in anything. Why put a big focus on LinkedIn just because you feel like you should be there? If it's not yielding you results and you've actually, put in a lot of work to actually get it to work, then leave it alone, right? You don't have to be on TikTok just because everybody's on TikTok. If you're on TikTok and you've been posting on TikTok and you've been putting an effort to make that channel work and you're seeing that it's not working, you're not getting sales, you're not getting leads, you're not getting whatever it is that you're trying to get from it, it's okay to, shift your energy and focus on what is working. If you're saying like Instagram is working for me and it's working really well, okay, let's do more of that, right? So do more of what works, because everything in marketing works, right? Like there is no one thing that you'll find that's like, oh, this is the one thing that works for everybody, or this is the one thing that always works, right? Everything works. You just need to figure out what it is that's going to work for you. Okay, I think we're on number 7. Number 7 is that upgrading your environment seriously improves your mood and productivity. Oh my gosh. Earlier this year, in the beginning of the year, I moved into a new place, and I was, I was working full time. I was, busy. All the things, all that kind of stuff. And so I had moved into my new place, and like, I still had places. I still had stuff that I'm trying to figure out, where am I going to put this? What am I going to do with this? Hadn't decorated. It was still looked like the last person's place that it was, or it looked like my landlord's place. Right. And so it's just like, it wasn't me. And so I was reading We Shall Be Millionaires by Rachel Rodgers. And I've read that book literally 3 times. I'm reading it again. I'm on my 4th time reading the book, because every time I read it, I get something different. And earlier this year when I read the book, I got from her chapter about, upgrading your environment. And I realized, and so same thing with Susan Hyatt's book, Bear. I read that book as well. She also talks about upgrading your environment and getting rid of the things that annoy you. And so I hired I hired an interior designer this year, and had them come for a week and help me to literally completely upgrade my whole place. Like, mainly focusing on my office and my living room and my bedroom, and really just help me to get get it together. And honestly, y'all, like, I love my house. I love being in my office. I love being in my living room. I love my room. I love my whole place. And there's not very much that I would change. Like, I literally just ordered a bookshelf for Christmas so that I can unpack this last box that I have in my storage closet, because that's the only thing I really needed. And so when you think about things that you can do in your house or in your office, or where you spend most of your time, whether it's your car, like if you spend a lot of time in your car, like, upgrade your environment. How can you make it so when you're in that space, you're not distracted by that box that you keep hitting when you back your chair out of your desk? You're not distracted by that painting that you really, really don't like, that has been there just forever, and you just haven't had the desire to change, or had the energy to change it. So it improves your mood, and it boosts your productivity. I know that when I go into my office, I don't have to worry about, oh my goodness, my office looks crazy. It's sometimes I'm like, I got too many Post-its around here, I got to clean this up, right? But upgrade your environment, and you will definitely see your mood and your productivity increase. All right, so let's go number 8. Number 8 is, your time is the most important asset that you have. As the CEO, I spent a lot of time this year on lots of things. I spent time doing so many coffee chats, and I love doing coffee chats, and I plan on doing more coffee chats in 2023. But I was doing a coffee chat with every Tom, Dick, and Harry that wanted to talk to me. And that's cool, and it's great. I'm grateful that people want to, talk with me and engage with me. And, a lot of the good amount of those coffee chats have yielded something, whether that's a client, whether that's a referral, whatever it is, right? Like, you get things out of these coffee chats when you go, because honestly, I show up to my coffee chats literally just trying to get to know people, right? I'm not going in there trying to sell or anything like that, but I had to realize that I was not being very intentional with the coffee chats that I was doing, or on the things I was spending my time on. Right? Or spending too much time maybe on social media in between meetings or in between tasks, or because, I'm distracted and want to, just want to do something to check out, right? Like, the time that you have to invest in your business and invest in your life is so important, right? It's the most important thing you have, because where you spend your time is exactly you can trace back to where your dollars are coming from. So if you're spending too much time talking to people who are not a right fit for you as a client, not a great referral source, not somebody who's going to be a biz bestie, right? If you're spending so much time doing all these things, or you're spending so much time learning instead of executing, that's another thing I do. I'm a learner. It's one of my top 5 Clifton strengths is learning. And so I love to watch a webinar. I love to watch a video. I love to listen to a podcast. But sometimes you spend so much time learning that you don't spend enough time executing. And so make sure that you are understanding where your time is going next year, right? So just figure out, where did your time go this year? What are things that you're going to continue to do? But then what are things that you're not going to continue to do? Well, y'all, I just looked at my list and my numbers is all off. So I'm going to just say this is the next lesson. Okay. So the next lesson is allow time for your marketing to work. And this one is a good reminder for me as well, because sometimes we get so excited. I know for me, I'll speak for myself. I get so excited about something. I'll get an idea. I'm very much a person that's like, I have thousands of ideas. Like, I am not the person who struggles with coming up with content ideas or coming up with ideas to do things. I very much am the person who has too many ideas and it paralyzes me. Because I'm like, well, what should I do? I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that. What should I do? Okay. And so if you get excited about something, and you're like, oh, I want to tell people about it now. I want to promote it, right? And you don't give you start promoting things and you're not seeing the results that you want. You're not seeing the sales you want from it. But if you're not giving your marketing enough time to work, then you're kind of just shooting yourself in the foot, because maybe you just needed more time. Maybe it's not that the offer was wrong. Maybe it's not that the product didn't work, or maybe it wasn't that, what you were doing was wrong. It's that you just needed more time. You needed to hit people more often and more frequently. Maybe you needed to do some testing on your messaging. Maybe you needed to do some lead generation first before you launched your course, right? So you need to allow time for your marketing to work, because marketing does take time, right? I don't care how many hacks you find, how many best practices you implement. I don't care how you build your ads in the most perfect, optimal way. Marketing takes time. It takes time. And that time allows you for testing. That time allows you to be able to look at data to see, okay, what signals am I getting, so that you can start to pivot. You can move differently when you give yourself time. And so if you need to, and I've noticed, like, for me, like, if I'm trying to sell something and I'm like, I'm only giving it a week, that doesn't work for me. I need to give things more time I need to give my audience more time, more touch points to make decisions, right? And so think about the time that you are allowing your marketing to work. If you're not giving things enough time, and I'm not going to say that there's a blanket period of time, right? There isn't like, oh, you have to give everything at least 2 weeks, right? But you really have to, use your best judgment and use your intuition and use your data to understand, like, if I need to talk to my people about something for at least 3 weeks before they buy, then I need to do that. And now if you're in an e-commerce space, that may be a little different, right? E-commerce moves a lot faster. People make decisions a lot faster in that space. Unless you have a product that requires more massaging and more education and that kind of thing. Maybe you're in a wellness kind of space and it requires some massaging and some relationship building and some trust building, right? But if you're selling impulse buy products, for example, you may have a short time frame in which your marketing needs to work. And so that's why it isn't a blanket amount of time that you need to spend that I can give you, but you really need to understand how fast your customers move, how many touch points that they need, and how much time you need to give them before they actually make a decision. Next is that it takes just as much effort to sell a $200 service as it is to sell a $2,000 service. So it takes a lot, like, and I say that because I've sold both. I've sold things where I've tried to sell things that were $97. I've tried to sell things that were $200. I've tried to sell things that are $500. I've sold things that are $5,000, right? Like, I've sold a variety of different things. And let me tell you, it takes just as much effort to sell somebody into a $2,000 service or a $2,000 product as it does to sell them into a $200 one, period. Like, the amount of effort that you have to put in, the amount of building, you always have to build know, like, and trust in marketing. I talk about that when I talk about customer journey. The goal of your marketing is to build know, like, and trust by moving people through your customer journey. And so regardless of what's on the end of that, regardless of what price is on the end of that product or is on the end of that customer journey, it's going to take effort to get people to buy it. right? It takes effort to get people to buy something that's $1. It takes effort to get people to buy something that's $10,000, right? And so, you might even argue that it may take less effort to sell a $10,000 service than it is to sell a $10 service, right? But either way, the lesson there, at least the lesson for me and the lesson that I pulled out of it, is that if I'm going to put my effort into something, it's going to be the thing that's going to pay off the most. And if you're going to put your effort and your marketing into working towards something, it needs to be focused on something. It needs to be really just focused, right? Don't try to sell something that's $200 just because you think it'd be easier to sell, because it's not. I'm telling you, it's not easier to sell a $200 product, a $200 thing, than it is to sell something that's $2,000. And so if you think about where you're going to put your effort for next year, put it into something that's actually going to pay off the most, that's going to give you the best return for your effort, because either way, it's going to take effort to get people to buy anything from you. All right, next lesson. This is lesson number. This is 10. Okay, so now I'm back on track. We had number 10, y'all. So number 10 is that rest is the key to progress. AKA, or I have two kind of things written here for this lesson, is that, like, you can't force progress, right? Like, you cannot force an idea to come to life. And an example for me, that it's so funny this year. I feel like I did not rest a lot, but I also do feel like I rested a lot, if that makes sense. Like, whenever I would get stuck on something, I would go and lay down. I would take a nap. I would take a break. And I started to realize over time that, or even like, getting in the shower or something like that, something where you're not like literally staring at a piece of paper trying to figure out, like, what is the answer? Like, what am I going to name this program? What am I going to name my business? What am I going to call this product? Right? You can't force yourself to come up with an idea. You can't force yourself to make progress on something that takes time to think through and takes rest. And so when you're thinking and when you're stuck on something, take a break from it. Don't try to force yourself to figure it out. Take a break, take a step back, take a nap, take a walk, whatever it is you need to do, whatever you define as rest, because it's essential to be able to get forward, to keep going forward, right? We can, like, burnout is dead, y'all. Like, let me tell you. And there's like I am not trying to burn out. I've been there. I am not trying to do that in 2023. I feel like this year I spent a lot of time doing a lot of different things, and next year my priority is to be impactful yet rested. And in order for me to be impactful, honestly, I have to be rested. I'm someone who has insomnia, and so sleep is a thing for me. So I really, really need as much sleep as possible. And so if I am not getting proper rest, I start to realize, like, my brain is going, my thoughts are going a thousand miles a minute. I can't figure out an answer. I don't have any clarity. I feel foggy. And so when I take a step back, when I take rest, when I take a break, I find that it helps to clear it clears the anxiety, but it also, it helps me to really kind of get to that answer that I'm needing, even if I have to give it a couple days, right? Like, if I'm putting together like my frameworks and things like that, or things require my thought and me putting my expertise on the paper, sometimes it's going to take me a couple days to really figure that out. And that's just me. Maybe you might be able to come up with something really quickly, and that's okay. But understand where you need to execute rest in order to help you to get to that next level. Okay. Last two, number 11, is that relationships are essential to your forward progress. Oh my goodness. Let me tell you. And I even started to talk about this earlier, in that I did a ton of coffee chats, but even outside of even coffee chats that I've done a ton of them this year, but I've literally built so many relationships with people. It is crazy. Like, when I think about, when I started the year, who was I talking to about my business, and who, and the communities I was in, to now, and actually genuinely having great relationships with people, whether there are people who have been clients, people who are not clients, people who are referral sources, people who are just biz besties, people who I can just talk to about what's going on in my business, because, you can't talk about your business to everybody because they don't get it, right? Like, everybody's not going to get it if they are not in a position where you want to build a 7-figure business and nobody around you has done that before, right? And so you have to build relationships, again, like I was talking about earlier, with people who are ahead of you. And so, like, people who are ahead of me, like, these are the people who I'm learning from, I'm being helpful to, right? Because you always bring something to the table. It's not you don't build one-sided relationships. So all of my relationships that I've built are very much two-way streets, right? And so if I think about all the referrals I've gotten this year, I think about, where a lot of the knowledge that I needed and the blocks that were unblocked and the rooms that I was brought into because of the relationships that I built that I would not have been in or even heard of, had I not built those relationships. It's amazing and it blows my mind. And so really focus on building genuine relationships with people, because again, it's a two-way street, right? I'm not saying, to get somebody and to leech on them and to try to just suck them dry, right? Because that's not a relationship. But when you are genuinely helpful to people, you genuinely want to learn from people, you genuinely respect people, and you respect their time, all of that kind of stuff matters in helping to build relationships that are going to end up yielding something, later. And honestly, I've always been really good at building relationships. Relationship building is in my Clifton strengths. Most of my top strengths are relationship building strengths. And so for me, it's not necessarily something that takes a lot of effort and thought, right? I just genuinely like to build relationships with people. And I have relationships that I've built years ago that have paid off now, right? And so those are the kinds of things that you need to just always be thinking about. How can I genuinely build relationships with people? And if you don't have these relationships, let me tell you, you have to actually go out and find them. You have to actually go out and build them. Right? I am very much a person that is I will reach out to you if I want to talk to you. I will say, hey, I would love to have coffee with you. Hey, look, can we set something up? Can I DM you? I am very much an active relationship builder. And so if you are realizing that you're looking around and you don't have the genuine relationships that you need that are actually going to pull your business forward, definitely want to start to invest in that for 2023. All right, the last one, y'all. Last one, number 12 of the 12 lessons of the year. Is that therapy is essential as a human and also as a CEO. And the reason is because I have been in therapy. I started therapy earlier this year. I've been in therapy damn near every week since the beginning of the year. And I love being able to check in with my therapist weekly. I'm actually she's on a holiday vacation for the next 2 weeks. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do for 2 weeks? I got so much stuff that's going to happen. But anyway, but I realized being in therapy and doing the work and, actually uncovering myself, that there is an overlap between how you show up for your business and how you show up in your life. And if you are afraid to reach out to someone for a sale, if you're afraid to show up and to go live, if you're afraid to do what it takes to really, bring your business to life and to bring your vision to life, more so I should say, you have to get out of your own way. And sometimes a lot of the times, it's not a lack of strategy. A lot of times we are in our own way. A lot of times it's a mindset thing. And so having, whether it's therapy, whether it's life coaching, both, I've had both, and I think both are great. I'm probably going to have therapy and a life coach at some point. And so you have to find ways to get out of your own way, because we are constantly getting in our own way. Whether it's you're afraid to ask a customer for a referral, you're afraid to speak up about your business. All of these things are things that can be traced back to a lot of other stuff in our lives, right? These things don't just come up because we're business owners, and we don't just take the stuff that we have and put it on the side and put it on the shelf because we're a CEO. So you have to always consistently be working on yourself, digging into who you are, and making sure that you get out of your own way so that you can bring your vision to life. And so those are the 12 lessons that I've learned this year. There are so many other things that I've learned, and I'm sure I'll come up with a few other ways that I'm like, damn, I wish I added that to the podcast. But I would love to know what your biggest lesson was from this year, from 2022, and what you're carrying into 2023. So leave me a review below the podcast and let me know what your favorite or what your biggest lesson or biggest takeaway is from this year. And I would love to read it. You can also send me a DM on Instagram. And make sure y'all share this show with your friends. That we're going to have new episodes every Tuesday still. I am excited to have a bit of a break because I've recorded our guest episode for next month, and I'm really kind of sitting down to figure out okay, what does this show look like? How is it going to change? What worked? What didn't work? What are we going to do to improve? So yeah, I'm excited for 2023. I hope that you are. I really, really hope that you have a great holiday, have a great new year, and I will definitely see y'all in the new year right here every Tuesday for Roadmap to 1 Million. All right, y'all. Have a good one. Thank you so much for listening to the Roadmap to 1 Million podcast. I just know you got a nugget or two from that episode that will take your brand to the next level if you take action. Keyword, take action. So head over to stacyzeal.co/checklist to get a free resource that will help you to take action on what you learned today so that you can get on to building the brand of your dreams. And be sure to leave us a review so businesses like yours can get this gold as well. All right, y'all. I'll see you on the next episode.